ready to do a jig. What a wonderful way to begin. Welcome to First Unitarian Church of Pittsburgh. It is Sunday, June 12th of 2022, and I am still Kate Walker and still honored to be the minister of this wonderful, beloved community. I want to thank everyone who is on YouTube, whether it's at this moment or some point in the future. Thank you for being here. Thank you to all of you for choosing to come to this wonderful, beloved community in this sacred space. We are one people of many beliefs, many origins, sexualities, and genders. We are all growing, all learning, all loved. Just as you are welcome here. We are working for justice wherever the heavy weight of oppression has dug into the fabric of life. If this is your very first time with us, we would love to be in touch with you. If you have not already done so, please go to our website at just Google First Unitarian Church of Pittsburgh, and you'll find a form at the bottom of the main page for our newsletter. And then you can start hearing about us and what's going on. And if you are here in person and this is your first time, please check us out. Go to the welcome desk right outside these doors and get connected to us. You are also more than welcome to join us online for Zoom Social Hour. It follows the service. You can get a link to that Zoom Social Hour just by emailing First Unitarian Pittsburgh. That's all one word, First Unitarian Pittsburgh @gmail.com. I am live here in our sanctuary, but I'm certainly not alone. I have an incredible group of talented staff and volunteers and musicians, all that are helping make this worship successful and precious for all of us. Please, please offer your gratitude to them following the service. And today's service is the second in a two-parter that's a reflection about the Unitarian Universalist Seven Principles, with a reflection on the proposed eighth principles. And if those of you who are new to our faith, this is a wonderful invitation to hear a little bit more about who we are and our values. And if you are a longtime Unitarian Universalist, this is also an invitation for a deeper dive into our meaning and who we are and our faith as Unitarian Universalists. I also want to say that my beloved members and friends, if you are experiencing any sort of financial challenges and you need some temporary assistance, please contact me. You can reach me on our church phone for another week, just another week, and that number is on our website. I'm extension 100, or you can email me at minister@first-unitarian-pgh.org. That's also on our website. And we do have a special fund to help anybody who is experiencing financial hardship. More importantly, we want you to know you are not alone and you are part of this community. I will note that next week, I will be attending our annual conference for the UU Ministers Association, as well as the Unitarian Universalist Association called General Assembly, and that is in Portland, Oregon. And then I will return for a few days after that, the beginning of July, before I begin my vacation. And I will return back here in the pulpit on August 14th. But in the meantime, there's a wonderful collection of speakers who are members of this church, guest clergy, guest lay leaders, and they are each preparing something special for you. And I hope you take the time to hear their thought-provoking ideas and their heartfelt stories. I invite you now to take a deep breath as we arrive in body and spirit in this time of worship and celebration. Picture yourself connected to each other across time and space in this sanctuary and in the internet as well, for those who are watching now and in the future. We turn to our chalice lighting, the symbol of our faith. I offer these words by the Reverend Scott Alexander, a Unitarian Universalist minister. In a world with so much hatred and violence,
we need a religion that proclaims the inherent worth and dignity of every person.
In a world with so much brutality and fear.
We need a religion that seeks justice, equity, and compassion in human relations.
In a world with so many persons abused and neglected.
We need a religion that calls us to accept one another and encourage one another to spiritual growth.
In a world with so much dogmatism and falsehood.
We need a religion that challenges us to a free and responsible search for truth and meaning.
In a world with so much tyranny and oppression.
We need a religion that affirms the right and conscience and the use of the democratic process.
In a world with so much inequity and strife.
We need a religion that strives toward the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all.
In a world with so much environmental degradation.
We need a religion that advocates respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part.
In a world with so much uncertainty and despair.
We need a religion that teaches our hearts to hope and our hands to care.
Let us sing.
True story. At the Central Park Zoo in New York City, there were two penguins named Roy and Silo who adored each other. It's typical for penguins to find a partner, what we would call a mate. One other penguin that is special to them, that they would do everything together, spend their lives together, and just be close. They have fun and they help each other out. Usually when a female lays an egg, her partner takes turns with her, sitting on the egg to keep it warm so it will hatch. Then a baby penguin pokes out of its shell to be born, and the two penguins become its parents, and they take care of it together. Well, Roy and Silo were partners. The zookeepers could see that they did everything together that other penguin couples did. They talked to each other in penguin language. They swam together. They wrapped their necks around each other, which is like a penguin hug. But one thing they couldn't do, obviously, was lay an egg and take turns sitting on it, because only female penguins could lay eggs, and Roy and Silo were both males. But the zookeepers could see that Roy and Silo wanted to be penguin parents, though, because one time a zookeeper saw that Roy and Silo were taking turns sitting on a rock. The rock was shaped like a penguin egg. Roy and Silo were keeping it warm so it would hatch, but of course the rock would never hatch into a baby penguin. Then the zookeepers noticed that another pair of penguins, one female and one male, had 2 eggs that they were trying to keep warm at the same time. And the zookeepers knew this would be very, very hard for them to do. So they decided to give both eggs an equally good chance to hatch into baby penguins. And at the same time, they could give Roy and Silo a chance to be penguin parents. So the zookeepers gave Roy and Silo the egg that needed to be kept warm. First, Roy sat on the egg and then Silo. They took turns keeping the egg warm, just like any other penguin partners. And finally, one day, Roy and Silo's egg began to hatch, and out popped a perfectly healthy baby girl penguin. The zookeepers welcomed the new baby penguin with the name Tango. A tango is a dance for 2 dancers. To dance a tango, the partners have to stand very close to each other and understand each other's movements. When 2 tango dancers have a good partnership, their dancing looks very lovely and graceful. The way Roy and Silo were such good parents together reminded the zookeepers of a beautiful tango dance. After Tango was born, Roy and Silo did what parents do. They kept Tango warm. They brought her food in their beaks and fed it to her. And in a few months, Tango was ready to do most things for herself. Her parents, Roy and Silo, had raised her very well. Do we have any children or youth with us today? We can still sing.
Number 1010, Oh We Give Thanks.
Our religious community is made up of volunteers and staff creating and hosting a variety of programming, even as we stay safe during this time of pandemic. We rely on your financial support. Please take time to reflect on your ability to financially support this community. Donations by check may be mailed to the church office. Electronic donations can be made online through the church website or by texting GIVE to 412-435-1050 and following the instructions.
How goes it with your hearts? How goes it with your heart, my beloved? How goes it with your soul and your body? It is so important to check in. Take a breath and to check in from the toes to the top of our head, our fingertips, the back, and our shoulders. We carry such joys and sorrows too often in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. So I ask, how goes it with your hearts? I share these joys and these sorrows with you. Madeline Darnell's partner, John, was admitted to a hospital. A couple of days ago, they were on vacation in North Carolina. He had a severe heart attack. He is intubated and in tough shape. Madeline is asking for our deepest prayers and thoughts for both of them, and they are hoping to have surgery once he is stable. And the Garden Committee wants to let you know that that beautiful corner out here on Ellsworth and Morewood has been dedicated this summer to beloved member Phyllis Gensler, who died last fall. All those plantings there are in Phyllis's memory and her own love for gardening. And I invite you to spend some time out there with your love and thoughts, and a good place to check in about how it goes with your heart. For all those joys and sorrows that are lying silent in the sanctuary of your heart and your mind, please remember you do not journey on this path alone. Please join me in a few moments of silence and meditation and prayer. Spirit of life, fill our bodies with your soothing presence. Remind us with every breath of your presence in our bodies, connecting us to the spirit of life itself, connecting us to the atmosphere, the oxygen, the planet. Spirit of love, ease our breaking hearts. Remind us of all the burdens we carry, our concerns, our fears. Help ease us on our journey. Remind us of our connectedness to one another. Help break down the barriers of isolation and fear. Spirit of life and love, remind us of your energy source, of your sustenance, of your resilience, of your strength, of hope. Spirit of joy, come into our hearts and minds and bodies with the gifts of hearing music, of seeing this world, of touching the surface of someone's skin, holding hands, hugging, and seeing the beauty of this world. Spirit of justice, guide our words and deeds. Give us the strength to speak out when others are harmed, to march, to call, to write, to be the best we can be as we create a better world for all of us. We offer our thoughts and prayers for all of our trans siblings, our GLBTQI community, For all in Ukraine still struggling for their country, we have not forgotten you. We offer our thoughts and prayers. Blessed be, and amen.
My faith has found a resting place, not in device nor creed. I trust the ever-living one, the flower, the fruit, the seed. I need no other argument. I need no other plea. It is enough that love will be the road, the door, the key. Enough for me that I will walk a pilgrim in love's fold, and in the blessed arms of grace I'll rest my weary soul. I need no other argument. I need no other plea. It is enough that love will be the road, the door, the key. Oh, there's a hope that all our souls imprisoned will be free, and that in time all hate and fear will drown in love's great sea. I need no other argument. I need no other plea. It is enough that love will be the road, the door, the key.
You are such a gift to us, Ellen. Thank you. So rather than just me listing my thoughts about the 7 principles of Unitarian Universalism and with the 8 proposed, we created a weaving of my brief reflections and then some beautiful responsive readings that connect to those principles to help touch both our heart and our mind. So I invite you into this journey with me. And much gratitude to Brian for his willingness to play this morning. As many of you know, I like to watch Star Trek. I was raised with Star Trek. We actually had a Enterprise and Romulan ship and Klingon ship orbiting over our dining room table. So I was watching this year Discovery, season 5, and I increasingly became very suspicious that the writers for the script for the whole season were actually Unitarian Universalists. because our theology, our Unitarian Universalist theology and our values were so completely embedded in the entire plot. Universal love for all, that we are connected in this common bond, the importance of diplomacy over aggression, honoring our emotions balanced by reason, and the celebration of diversity. All of these were themes in season 5 of Discovery. Again, this was so affirming because I thought to myself, Unitarian Universalist beliefs and values are embedded in cultural norms. They are there, specifically pop culture and science fiction. I suspect with a superficial analysis, we would find all of our 7 principles embedded in much more of that we are exposed to, that we read about in TV shows that we watch. We're starting to see more about the 8th principle. Now, I've heard many people have said that the 7 principles are not really religious, that they are secular in nature. And certainly if we're seeing them involved in pop culture, that lends some validity to that statement. But I am not so confident that secular and religious are so easily divided. I think they overlap. Many of our secular values, indeed, are tied to deep religious beliefs and theology. So today in this weaving that I offer you, this is in no way exhaustive. Each one of our principles could be a book. Each one points to deeper levels that I hope you will find yourself invited to engage and reflect about what's burning in your mind and your heart about our principles. So again, I remind you that our principles are in the Unitarian Universalist bylaws in Article 2, and they are being reviewed, the whole article. And it begins with this preamble. We, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote. Excuse me. The first principle, inherent worth and dignity of every person. This is based upon a full radical acceptance of one another. This is a theological position, not just secular. Inherent worth, inherent value, inherent dignity. It's not born of us. We are not born of a sinful and depraved nature. We are not born yet to be cleansed with baptism or a sacrificial act of forgiveness. That is not where this comes from. This is a call for all of us to bring forth our worth, to bring forth our dignity, to bring forth our fullness of being that was granted upon us at birth. We shall not be rejected, that we are welcomed, we are celebrated, we are valuing diversity of our being. This is hard to live by. So here's the challenge on this principle. The responsibility requires us to treat each other accordingly. It's not just a belief. You have to turn it into action. Our behavior must be in alignment with our belief. We shall not be cruel, abusive, harm, or marginalize others through intent or unintentional words and deeds. And here's the tricky part, even unintentional. We take responsibility because we are responsible for increasing our self-awareness, our education, and our capacity to change our behavior. When we learn that we have the capacity to do harm, such as learning our privileges, the burden is on us to then accordingly change. We hold ourselves and each other accountable, and we are committed to protecting the most vulnerable. These words in this responsive reading are by Marjorie Montgomery. I am glad I came into this world able to think and reason.
I am glad I came into this world able to feel pain and pleasure, sorrow and joy, anger and love.
I am glad I am able to heal both physically and mentally, able to be aware, to grow, and to change.
I am glad I am able to respond to love, beauty, and truth, able to discern reality, face it, accept it.
I am glad I came into this world able to feel with others, to care for others.
I am glad I came into this world unique and singular.
I am glad I came into this world as an unfinished creature, moving towards completion.
I give thanks for the many gifts of life. I am glad I came into this world.
Our second principle: justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. This is grounded in a theological presumption that all living beings deserve to live fully into and experience the sanctuary of the holy, of the sacred, of beauty, of life. It must be a daily question for all individuals, for all communities, for every business, for every level of government, that the question, are we living and acting in the pursuit of justice for all, creating equality for all, offering our tender, breaking hearts of compassion for all? It's a high calling. It's an evolving ideal. It's not an end point. It's constantly creating and maintaining systems of justice and equity and compassion and our mutual understanding as it evolves and matures. What we understood as justice 100 years ago is not what we understand today. And by that, we grow and mature. The challenge: this cannot be done alone. It requires community, but more importantly, it requires constant engagement and political and financial power. We need a collective understanding and acceptance of the first principle of inherent worth and dignity, and it requires acceptance of the seventh principle as well, that we are responsible to and accountable to each other, and a mutuality. This responsive reading was written by Becky Edmiston, and I invite you to be the respondent with these words: we are the light of the world. Join me. We are the light of the world. And I'm including you folks on YouTube as well, okay? You don't get an out here. When we share each other's pain or offer a comforting ear to a friend in need,
We are the light of the world.
when we give bread to the hungry or support ways to house the homeless,
We are the light of the world.
when we fight temptations to wrongdoing within ourselves and treat our neighbors with respect,
We are the light of the world.
when we try to overcome differences with understanding and solve conflict with peaceful means,
We are the light of the world.
when we look for the good in other people and in ourselves,
We are the light of the world.
when we do not stay quiet in the face of prejudice, but speak our minds firmly and gently,
We are the light of the world.
when we fight despair within ourselves and side with hope,
We are the light of the world.
when we use our powers justly and in the service of love for humanity.
We are the light of the world.
We are the light of the world. Amen. Amen. Number 3, acceptance of one another and commitment to spiritual growth in our congregations. This is a theological belief of the individual spiritual or religious journey, and that it's not a destination. That is important to understand that our faith is not putting all our eggs in heaven. There are two parts to this principle. The first is acceptance of one another, that we're each on a unique journey, and that journey takes many forms. And second, that everyone has some work to do. While we can do this work individually, we must also do it together. Spiritual journey is both private and communal and collective as we share, encourage, inquire, and hold each other accountable about our personal experiences as we share them with one another. Unitarian Universalists are reluctant on that second part about sharing our journeys. So the challenge is that spiritual growth takes time, patience, courage to share, and that we need to do it integrated with our mind and our body and our hearts and what we know as a spirit. Yet we rarely give it the time that we really need to have a deeper understanding of our faith and what holds us together. And when we hit those moments in life when we meet death or illness, when we're full of fear or have hunger in our bones, and we find ourselves in a crisis, if we haven't done the work of our faith, then we find ourselves without the strength and the fortitude to survive. It's like trying to stand up, but we haven't strengthened our muscles. We need to put spiritual growth in our daily schedule. Put it in the Fitbit reminder. Put it in your smartphone watch. It's as important as brushing our teeth. We need to brush our soul and our religious beliefs. These words are by a commission on common worship, which is basically a collection of really awesome Unitarian Universalists. Into this house of light we come.
Into this place of love and justice.
Into this circle of family and friends.
Let us rejoice and be glad.
Let us sing praises here for the sacred gifts of life.
Let us delight in the beloved faces of old friends.
Let us welcome new friends, new faces.
Let us rediscover those things of highest worth.
That our lives may be abundant and full of meaning.
Into this house of light we come. Let us rejoice and give thanks.
We are here
to celebrate the morning and the mercy of life.
We are here to confess our lives in the presence of our ideals.
Casting our fears and limitations into the thin air.
Which they must come to resemble if our spirits are to soar.
We are here to honor the honorable and school our hearts in love.
And we are here to learn to see the worth that gives life to our community.
Let us sing then and muse with care and caring.
And may our reason and our passion keep us true to ourselves and true to each other and true to our vision of what we can become. Number 4, you keeping track? A free and responsible search for truth and meaning, and like number 3, it's of spiritual growth. The search for truth and meaning is a journey without end. It's evolution in thought, belief, in progress, change, and maturity. It's a journey that challenges us. It calls us to be comfortable with ambiguity. Comfortable with ambiguity, not attached to the hard, capital T, truth. Helps to learn from the Buddhist teachings of don't get attached to the outcome. This principle addresses the human need for meaning in our lives. It creates layers of depth and strength and resilience. Here's the challenge. It's easy to focus on the free part and forget the responsible part. It's hard when it comes to personal truth, because we often limit truth to the Western ideals of measurable outcomes. Truth may be culturally or aesthetically based. It's not always evidence-based or quantitatively measurable. White, Western educated cultures often clash into non-white educated cultures due to cultural misunderstanding about the ideas of education and truth. We may not believe someone's personal truth. We may discount it, minimize it, disrespecting somebody's life experience. Responsible also requires we remain open to inquiry and respectful, thoughtful dissent. Henry David Thoreau offers his reflections on this. We must learn to awaken and keep ourselves awake by an infinite expectation of the dawn, which does not forsake us in our soundest sleep.
For we are encouraged that people can elevate their lives by their own conscious endeavor.
It is something to be able to paint a picture or to carve a statue, and so to make a few beautiful objects.
But it is far more glorious to carve and paint the very atmosphere and medium through which we look, which morally we can do.
To affect the quality of the day, that is the highest of arts.
It is the task of all persons to make their lives, even in details, worthy of the contemplation of their most elevated and critical hours.
Why? Why should we live in such a hurry and waste of life?
We are determined to be starved before we are hungry.
I wish to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life.
I wish to learn what life has to teach, and not, when I come to die, discover that I have not lived.
I do not wish to live what is not life. Living is so dear.
Nor do I wish to practice resignation, unless it is quite necessary.
I wish to live deep and suck out all the marrow of life, to live so sturdily and Spartan-like as to put to rout all that is not life.
I want to cut a broad swath and shave close, to drive life into a corner and reduce it to its lowest terms.
If it proves to be mean, then to get the whole and genuine meanness of it and publish its meanness to the world.
Or if it is sublime, to know it by experience and to be able to give a true account of it.
Number 5, the right of conscience and the use of democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. We just had our annual congregational meeting. And if you didn't participate, you're going to feel guilty after this reflection. This principle offers that the idea of the vote, particularly in the sanctuary of our religious community, is a sacrament. As I researched and reflected about this principle, the writings of UU minister Parisa Parsa caught my deep attention. In her essay about the 5th principle in a book titled The Seven Principles in Word and Worship, Parsa raises the secular to the sacramental level. Democratic process as a point of transformation from the intangible belief that I matter to the tangible act of making a difference. It's a territory of faith in community, of our neighbors. It's a faith in beloved community and in society at large. The testimony of our conscience is held as sacrosanct and worthy of being embedded within our fundamental structures, holding us within the grace of protection and wholeness. Our whole structure of this country is held with this deep faith in one another. So here's the challenge. To believe in this principle, holding both secular and religious meaning, requires actually participating, not just with a single vote, but with a lifetime of learning, of being willing to be in the minority, to check our ego when we lose, to being transformed by another's testimony, to deeply listening to one's inner conscience. We might call God or Brahman or Allah or the spirit of life. To affirm the dependence upon one another in this participatory governance. All of this is embedded in our fifth principle. And as a religious institution, Parsa writes that the democratic process is our liturgy, the work of the people, the more demanding than our celebratory worship, where you are simply asked to show up and sing, think a little bit, sometimes do a responsive reading. But our democratic process asks you to fully participate. To not engage with our voice and our vote is to skate on the superficial layers of our faith and our nation. I want to see 100% attendance at next year's annual congregational meeting. Abraham Lincoln offers these words. As labor is the common burden of our race, so the effort of some to shift their share of the burden onto the shoulders of others is the great, durable curse of the race.
As I would not be a slave, so I would not be a master.
This expresses my idea of democracy. Whatever differs from this, to the extent of the difference, is no democracy.
Our reliance is in our love for liberty, our defense in the spirit which prizes liberty as the heritage of all people, in all lands, everywhere.
Destroy this spirit, and we have planted the seeds of despotism at our own doors.
Those who deny freedom to others deserve it not for themselves, and cannot long retain it.
Why should there be a patient confidence in the ultimate justice of the people? Is there any better or equal hope in the world?
Let us have faith that right makes might, and in that faith, let us, to the end, dare to do our duty as we understand it.
And I left out a critical word in my sentence. Why should there not be a patient confidence in the ultimate justice of the people? A wise leader, Abraham Lincoln. Number 6, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. So, Star Trek movies and series I watch in part because of this principle. They hold the ideals of world community, of peace, liberty, and justice for all. That is the premise of every Star Trek plot. And it gives us a little bit of hope that we are a little bit closer to what is always feeling unachievable. This 6th principle is the second time that justice is offered in our principles, establishing a firm foundation of our Unitarian Universalist values and holding our belief in this body that we are all holy and deserved of justice, of a lived experience. We hold this principle because we know our religious community is a working ground, the experimental lab, the factory of creation, the kitchen of ingredients where we practice world community and peace and justice for all. Humbly learn, adjust, adapt, courageously commit to a future where we will not experience nor ever fully live within. So the challenge, you see it, you felt it, the challenge is creeping cynicism, the defeat of dreams, the escape into powerlessness, or egotistical hubris and addiction to power. All these haunt our best laid plans, our greatest passions, and our deepest yearnings. We can be easily persuaded that our ideals are unrealistic and even silly by others who have a contempt for dreams. Reality itself can undermine the deeper truth. We do this work out of creating peace and liberty and justice for all, not because we want to win, but because it's the right thing to do. To give up this ideal is to betray our moral calling to be the best we can be while we exist on this beautiful planet. Marjorie Bowens Wheatley, a Unitarian Universalist minister who died a few years ago because of cancer, and I miss greatly. She offers this responsive reading, and in this one, I offer you the response and invite you to say the words with me. It will not matter. It will not matter. If recognizing the interdependence of all life, we strive to build community, the strength we gather will be our salvation. If you are black and I am white,
It will not matter.
if you are female and I am male,
It will not matter.
if you are older and I am younger,
It will not matter.
if you are liberal and I am a conservative,
It will not matter.
if you are straight and I am gay,
It will not matter.
if you are Christian and I am Jewish,
It will not matter.
if we join spirits as siblings, the pain of our aloneness will be lessened, and that does matter.
In this spirit, we build community and move toward restoration.
Number 7. You guys love this one, don't you? Respect for the interdependent web of existence of which we are all a part. This is often named as our favorite principle by Unitarian Universalists, including people here in this community. It calls us to a theological grounding and a perspective of that we are part of something larger than ourselves, that we are interconnected on a profound, deeply intimate level, intertwined with life, all sacred, beautiful, flourishing, and decaying life. We are as much a part of the water in the Allegheny River as we are of the blue herons that inspire our awe. And with every breath, we breathe with the planet in the atmosphere of oxygen and love. Here's the challenge. As we oppress others, we harm ourselves. To live as a being, a particle, a life force, an atom connected to the larger web, we must make sacrifices that we are currently not willing or able to do. We're not psychologically ready yet to give up our self-gratification, that is, our daily dopamine hits of feeling good. The whole web of existence is at risk. It's tipping over into a climate calamity. Buddhist teacher and activist Joanna Macy calls it the Great Turning. Yet we are still part of the path of destruction, and I include myself in this. As I realized I was writing this just a few days before, I, without even thinking about it, booked a flight to Denver in August to visit with some friends. Bam, my carbon, plop, just crashed into this atmosphere once again. Sure, I can counter it by there are carbon brokers right now, and you can give them some money and they'll invest it in someone to offset my carbon, but it just offsets it. It doesn't reduce the overall impact. The deep theological calling to save this divine existence, this web of life, requires us to ask, how will I participate not in harming, but in healing this world? It means sacrifice. And hope lies in our creative powers, our ingenious minds, as well as our capacity to consciously change our behavior. Richard Gilbert, Unitarian Universalist minister, offers this reading. Blessed are the heavens, for they declare the power of creation.
Blessed is the earth, our beloved home, for she is a planet of plenitude.
Blessed are the waters thereon, for they give rise to living things.
Blessed is the land, for it is the source of life abundant.
Blessed is the air we breathe, for it fires us to life and love.
Blessed are the beasts of the field, for they are glorious to behold.
Blessed are the birds of the air, for they carve a graceful arc in the sky.
Blessed are the mountains and the seas and the valleys, for their variety makes rich our habitat.
Blessed are the fields of grain, the orchards of fruit, for they give sustenance, asking nothing in return.
Blessed are the dwellers on earth, for they cherish the privilege of living upon it.
Blessed are they who protect the earth and all her creatures, from the plants of the fields to the trees of the forest, for their reward shall be harmony with the web of existence.
Rejoice and be glad, for the earth and her people are one.
So those are our current 7 principles. The proposed 8th, journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. This proposed 8th principle, as of Friday, now has over 200 congregations. Last week I reported 188. That means that many congregations voted last week. Over 200. Why was it proposed? Because the vast majority of the people of color in our faith who have marginalized identity have experienced discrimination and oppressive incidents or cultures within our own Unitarian Universalist circles. Our beloved Unitarian Universalist people of color siblings are hurting, and they are asking for this deep commitment, and I believe them. This principle is a reckoning of taking responsibility for the sin of racism. It's about privileged patterns and habits long established, embedded in the cultures of power and authority. It's an invitation to covenant and to build bindings with one another from our past and into our future to the present. It's an invitation to listen deeply, humbly, sincerely, with the openness of possibility and transformation. More emphatically, the 8th principle is about dismantling racism and white supremacy in our own institutions and do what we Unitarian Universalists are willing to do to create grace and abundance for all. Here's the challenge. Whether we understand the work that lies ahead or not, we have to move forward anyway. It's a leap of faith. We have to trust that the work needs to be done, even if we don't fully understand it. Otherwise, our Unitarian Universalist faith, I believe, will become meaningless in this incredible world. In a world in need of justice, we must become leaders. These words are from Lamont B. Steptoe, titled Election Time. Names will change,
Faces will change.
but not much else.
The president will still be white
And male,
and wasp,
still speak with forked tongue,
still wear red, white, and blue underwear,
still sleep on white sheets,
in a White House,
still surrounded himself with white men,
still believe that white is the best thing to be,
still read all white newspapers,
that will only talk about blacks in connection with crime,
still fly in white Air Force One,
still worship a white Jesus,
still pray to a white God,
still go on vacation,
where white people lie on white sand beaches.
Still white out his mistakes.
Still issue white papers
Still throw out little white balls.
on opening day.
Still uphold the laws of dead white men.
Still dream about big white monuments.
And big white memorials.
Ain't nothing changed.
Ain't nothing changed at all.
Well, these 8 principles, my beloved community, they are guides. They should be inspiration, and they call on us to be the light upon this world. Be the change that we seek. Be the transformer. Let these principles be a source of guidance when we are lost, energy when we're tired, comfort when we're hurting, inspiration when we're cynical, and let us know when they too need to be changed. Blessed be and amen. Please stand as you're able for 1028, Fire of Commitment. I invite you to remain standing as you're able. As we extinguish our chalice, the words are found in the order of service as well as our hearts. We extinguish this flame. Please speak with me. Yeah. So we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go forth, my beloved, go forth into this world with the fire of commitment burning in your hearts and souls. And when you are tired, return to the principles that we hold embedded in our faith. May they guide you on your way. May they be a source of light. May you be a source of light. Return again in love. Blessed be.